Hi, good evening, everyone. So, beta, today we are going to go ahead and do in thorough understanding of how and what you can go ahead and prepare for South Asian University, right? And as we know that the exam is just in 10 days, so we want to go ahead and understand what topics should we be preparing and how we should be going ahead and preparing those topics. Now, additionally, what I want all of you to go ahead and do before even I start this session is that there is this interview that I had taken with one of my students, Payal. It is available in the play. It will be available on our YouTube channel, and I will also go ahead and pin it as part of the comment section. I would just pin that, and there will be some last year marathons also on South, right? So again, I would request all of you to go to the SAU playlist, right, of ArthaPoint, and I would request you to go through those videos also to get a better understanding of what and all you can prepare. Okay, beta? Okay. Before I tell you what are the important topics that you should be preparing, I just want to quickly tell you the number of seats that are there in South this year. So the number of seats in South Asian University has increased, which is a very, very positive thing. But a South Asian University is a very, very good university to be in, especially if you aim to do research work. अगर आपका थोड़ा सा भी inclination research की तरफ है या public oriented jobs की तरफ है या ministries में जाने की तरफ है, right? If you want to go to any of the ministry, right? So for example, I will tell you my personal experience. When I was selected for the Finance Commission, 15th Finance Commission work, um, I just gave an interview and I came back and I got a call from there. There I saw that there were many, many economists who were from different universities, like South Asian University, like Delhi School of Economics, like JNU, like Hyderabad universities, and so on and so forth. So it's a good recognized university as far as your, um, as far as your this is concerned, the research work or the ministries are concerned. Another thing before we deep dive, what should give you motivation to study for South Asian University is that the professors will go ahead and recommend you for research, and also they will recommend you for going ahead and doing PhD from good places. So अगर थोड़ा सा भी inclination research की तरफ है, then South Asian University is going to be a good university for you people. हाँ, ऐसा नहीं है कि corporate नहीं है, corporate jobs are also there, but research में and public oriented job में it is more recognized. Okay. Now let's talk about the duration of the entrance test. So the duration of this entrance exam is going to be 2 hours. And when we talk about the number of questions, you will be seeing there will be 70 questions and there will be no negative marking. Another very, very good thing about South Asian University is that you will be studying in the 2 years with many other students from different countries. तो एक बहुत अच्छा hybrid culture मिलता है आपको. You go ahead and you understand different countries, उनकी economies कैसे चलती हैं. You make friends across countries, right? So it's a very good culture that you will be seeing in the next 2 years if you get into South Asian University. Paper is not very difficult, बहुत मुश्किल पेपर नहीं आता है. It's an average paper. So if you have studied for your CUET, that is going to be an advantage. Definitely, जो CUET में prepare किया है वो helpful रहेगा ही रहेगा. But there will be some additional content that you may have to prepare. तो आई विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट ऑल्सो टुडे. मैं अभी बहुत शॉर्टली आपको ये भी बताऊंगी कि व्हाट इज दैट एडिशनल कंटेंट दैट यू शुड बी प्रिपेयरिंग. उसके बारे में भी हम अभी शॉर्टली डिस्कस करेंगे. नाउ दीज आर the topics which will be short evaluated in the South Asian University paper: microeconomics, macroeconomics, Devico, maths and stats. These 5 topics for sure will be there in your South Asian University entrance exam. But other than this, you may see 2 additional topics also. You may see questions related to SARC region asked every year. हर साल इससे related आता ही आता है. In fact, if you just go ahead, suppose आप बेटा Google करते हो SARC का website. If you go to official website of SARC, you will actually go ahead. Yes, beta, the campus is in Delhi. So you will go ahead and you will notice that they are actually promoting South Asian University. So the moment you will go to SARC website, you will actually see that they're going ahead and telling you that admissions in SAU are open. So because these two are so integrated, you can expect questions based on SARC in the South paper. South Asian University mein you will see questions based on SARC a lot, definitely. And today I will go ahead and I will tell you what are the important questions that can be asked from SARC region also. उसके बारे में भी हम बहुत shortly बात करेंगे. Other than that, it is always good to understand the global information as to what is the latest news and what is happening globally. You should be aware about that also. Now, the faculty at South Asian University is an excellent faculty. They are all good PhD scholars. So you will be studying from the best. Believe me, it's a very good place to be at. Okay. Now, I will just deep dive into what all is important from these topics also. And then I will go ahead and I will tell you what is important from these two topics also. We will talk about both of these. So to begin with, let me go ahead and let me give you all important pointers from SARC. All important things that you must remember from SARC. Now, these are not the only things. मतलब ये मैंने अपने हिसाब से I've just written down whatever is important. But more than that, beta, I want you to go ahead and visit this website. Everyone will visit the SARC website. एंड उस पे आपको जो भी एक बार ऊपर से हर पेज को जस्ट गो थ्रू दैट पेजेस एंड देखो कि क्या क्या एक्स्ट्रा इन्फॉर्मेशन वहां से आप ग्रास्प कर पा रहे हो. ट्राई टू मेक अ नोट ऑफ ऑल ऑफ दैट because it can be asked in the entrance exam. Okay. Now, before we go ahead and we deep dive into SARC, let us try to understand what is the full form of SARC. So SARC basically goes ahead and stands for South Asian Association for Regional Corporation. Right? And क्या है ये? क्या कर रहा है ये? So whichever countries lie in the South Asian region, all those countries, they go ahead and they have come together and they have decided on a lot of different topics. वो बहुत सारी बातों पे बात करते हैं. Like for example, they go ahead and they talk about women, they talk about science, they talk about the environment, they talk about geopolitical aspects. So these South Asian countries, they have come together and they go ahead and they talk about a lot of different things, right? So this is an intergovernment organization and geopolitical union of state in the South Asia. So jitna bhi South Asia ka country, they will go ahead and they will talk on all these things. Now, when was this founded? This was founded on 8th of December, 1985. Please make a note of this date. And it was founded in Dhaka, right? Its headquarters is at Kathmandu, Nepal. Again, an important point for you to go ahead and remember. Now, it is the case that I think math is not compulsory. It's either theory or math. No, beta. Maths is compulsory. Maths would be asked in paper. Don't think maths will not be there. Maths will always be there in every paper. Okay. Maybe you're being confused with some other exam, but here math would be there, right? Okay. And okay, so coming back to this, so the headquarter is at Kathmandu, Nepal. And in 2007, again, an important question that can be asked in exam, that which country joined South Asian University, SARC in the latest years? So it is actually Afghanistan which joined the organization in 2007. It is an important point. Okay. Now they went ahead and in 2006, they actually launched something which is called as South Asian Free Trade Area. और ये वाली चीज बेटा, you should be well aware of this because very often this comes as other entrance exam question also. And in fact, it was asked in the CUET 2024 paper also, in which they asked you what is the difference between custom union, right, and free trade area, etc. तो ऐसे ही ये जो साउथ एशिया की कंट्रीज थी, they came together in 2006 and they formed a South Asian free trade area. Okay. Now these are the different areas of cooperation on which they talk, और इन सारी बातों के बारे में ये जो South Asian countries हैं वो discuss करती हैं. So they discuss on education, environment, sports, right? Culture, rural development, population health, tourism, transport, child welfare, communication, drug trafficking, prevention, and women in development. तो ये सारे ही जो areas हैं, just go ahead and read these areas once. Just make a note of these areas. These are the areas on which these countries go ahead and they talk about them. ठीक है? Now, who are the member of these countries? कौन से लोग हैं, कौन सी countries हैं जो SAARC में आती हैं? Which are the member countries of SAARC? So these are the member countries of SAARC. And as I have told you, Afghanistan is the latest addition to SAARC, right? Afghanistan joined SAARC in 2007. And I think this can be asked as an MCQ question. So all of you will remember this. एक साल में, in one of the past years, this was actually asked as one of the question. So you need to go ahead and you need to remember all these countries. Every year, they will go ahead and they will ask you question on this. And it is good if you can go ahead and read all the past year papers. तो जो भी बच्चे ऑलरेडी सार्क में ऑलरेडी साउथ एशियन यूनिवर्सिटी में बैठे हैं, they go ahead and tell me that every year 6 to 7 questions would be repeated based on past year papers. So it is important that you evaluate these past year papers very well, क्योंकि वहां से भी क्वेश्चन आ सकता है. So let me give you one example of the kind of question that was asked in past year paper based on these countries. तो ऐसा कुछ क्वेश्चन आ सकता है that which of the following country is not a member of SAARC? Not a member of SAARC. Something like this was asked in past year paper. There is just going to be one paper, beta. Just one paper. So as I just mentioned to you, that there is going to be just one paper of 70 MCQs and 2 hours. That's it. Okay, so something like this can be asked in exam. Which of the following countries not a member of SAARC? And they gave 4 options. Brazil, Pakistan, Maldives, and Bhutan. Right? So you should know that the correct answer to this option will be Brazil. That is not a member country of SAARC, right? So it is very, very important. I must highlight this thing. It is very, very important for you to remember these member countries because there is going to be a question on this. Okay. Now let's go ahead and continue this. So SAARC was actually founded by Abul Ehsan, and he was actually a Bangladeshi diplomat, right? This is Abul Ehsan, and he was a Bangladeshi diplomat, and he was also the first secretary or general secretary of SAARC. Now, beta, if they ask you who is the current president or current secretary of SAARC, then it is Ghulam Sarwar, and he is from Bangladesh, right? Now, when we talk, and just before him, we had Isala Ruvan Virakkum. I hope I'm pronouncing their name correctly. Now, what happens is that every time the president keeps changing. Whenever the president changes, we will get the president from different countries. So it is on a roll-on basis. माने जैसे अगर मैंने बोला कि इंडिया का प्रेसिडेंट बना, इस बारी सार्क में जो प्रेसिडेंट है वो इंडिया से है, so next year there will be from Sri Lanka, then next year there will be from Bangladesh, then Bhutan. So the presidents are on roll-on basis, and from each country will get a chance to go ahead and get to be the president of SAARC. हर बारी एक country से president बनेगा, and this is on a roll-on basis, right? So the last president who was from India, it was in the year 2008 to 2011, and it was Mr. Sheelkant Sharma, right? So that is when the last time India had got its person as the president of SARC. Okay. Acha, very rarely this can come, but I just wanted to kind of highlight this information. So just make a note of this information too. Suppose they go ahead and ask you who is the father of SARC. So it is Ziaur Rahman. He is known as the father of SARC. That means the one who brought the idea of kind of creating SARC. The father of SARC, it is Ziaur Rahman. Then they may ask you who is the first female Secretary General of SARC. So the first female Secretary General of SARC was Fatima Dhyana Sayyed, and she was from 2011 to 2012. Okay. Now, if they ask you what is the motto of SARC, so the motto of SARC is deeper integration for peace and prosperity. Beta, कुछ चीजें you need to remember as is. These are some statements. जैसे motto हम change नहीं कर सकते. So, for example, if in motto they go ahead and they give you deeper explanation for peace and prosperity, वो भी गलत होगा. The word have to be as is whenever you write the motto, because this is something which is declared by an organization. So you need to remember these things as is, that the motto of SARC is deeper integration for peace and prosperity. Okay. The first SARC summit was in Dhaka, 7th and 8th December 1985. And this is something which I have highlighted here also. So we already know that it was founded in Dhaka on 8th December 1985. तो जहां पे found हुआ वहीं पे ही तो first meeting होगी, right? So here we had the first meeting. Okay. So this is where we had the first meeting. Let me just scroll here. Okay. Now, when we talk about the latest summit of SARC, it was in Islamabad in Pakistan on 15th and 16th November. And during that period, if all of you have seen, I'm not sure if you have seen or not, we had Uri attack, right? And I hope that there was this movie that came on this Uri attack, which showed the amount of tensions that we had in the country during this period. So in this, during this period of 2016, India did not participate in the SARC summit because it was in Islamabad, Pakistan, right? So that is the latest summit that we had. Okay. Now, additional MCQs can be asked on questions like, so these are very often asked in your past years also, right? And you can have questions like, okay, which country has highest per capita GDP? Which country has lowest per capita GDP within the SARC nations? So you need to remember that highest per capita GDP and highest human development index, right? These are two things which have been asked a lot of times in the past years. So highest per capita GDP is Maldives and highest human development index is Sri Lanka. Similarly, lowest human development index is Afghanistan and lowest per capita GDP is also Afghanistan. So this is the first component of your preparation. I want all of you to go ahead and focus on this component. SARC is a short topic in your entrance exam of SAU, and each one of you will go ahead and give your 100% to preparing this topic. इस topic का कुछ भी आपका pending नहीं रहना चाहिए. You should not be missing out on anything in this topic. It's a very important topic and you should know everything about it. So I suggest all of you today will go open this website of SARC और उसमें जो भी आपको relevant information लग रही है, you will go ahead and revise that. And if not, then at least you will go ahead and you will revise whatever I have written here. Whatever we have discussed in the last 15-20 minutes, that is the minimum that you have to go ahead and revise. Okay. Now let's go ahead and let's focus on the development models. Okay, that's the second part. Beta, I hope you're not talking about GDP. GDP and national income are separate things. So you need to be sure whether you're talking about GDP or national income. Okay. Okay. Now the second important topic, very important topic from the point of view of your South Asian university, that is going to be actually development models, right? Now, if I look into the sample paper that is usually provided by South Asian University, the sample paper goes ahead and it says that, the questions that have been asked, it has been on the Lewis model, right? But you should be at least preparing these 4 development models thoroughly. I think these 4 can be asked in exam. The first one is going to be the solo model. The second one is going to be the Harrod-Domer model. The third one is going to be the Lewis model. And fourth one is going to be Harris-Todaro model. I think that these 4 models should be sufficient for your preparation of South Asian University entrance exam. If time permits, you can scroll through other development models also, but from your portal, revising these 4 development models should be enough. They should be sufficient. Okay. Let me give you some of the sample kind of questions that can be asked from these development models. So look here. Something like this can be asked. Please read out the question. It says estimation of recent data for many countries show that countries with higher savings rate have higher level of output per person, right? So this is saying that those countries which have higher saving, right, they have higher output, right? And now this is asking you, why do you think that will be true? So read the first option. High saving rate means permanently high growth rate of output. So this is telling me that if savings rate is high, output will be high. High saving rate leads to high level of capital per worker. This is saying if savings is high, capital will be high. Then this says countries with high level of output per worker can afford to save a lot. So when you have high output, savings will be high, right? And this says countries with large amount of natural resources will have output also and more of saving also. So questions like this, which may seem कि इनका तो कोई development model से relation ही नहीं है. They are nowhere related to development model. Such kind of questions can be asked in exam. But if you thoroughly see, then this is actually very much related to the solo model also, right? Because if you remember, then we had gone ahead and we had seen a model like this. If I have this as my output, right? And if I have this as my savings, and if I have this as delta plus n, then we had seen that this will be the level of capital. And correspondingly, this will be the steady state level of the output. And if my savings rate would increase, the amount of capital in the economy will increase and the amount of output in the economy will also increase. So more the savings, right, can go ahead and lead to more output in the economy. And this is something that has been shown through the data over the years, right? So such twisted questions can also be asked in exam, which are based out of solo model or which are an application of one of the model, and you just need to recall whatever models you have studied, right? So this would be the first kind of question. Let's take some more example. So suppose I ask you, in solo model, the demand for goods is equals investment. So we know that Y is equal to C plus I, right? Income can either be consumed or saved. And this is just asking a simple question on that. That, whenever I talk about the demand, then it will be investment plus. So it will be investment plus consumption. So the correct answer would be C, right? Look into another question. It says in economy with no population growth and technological change, Steady state consumption is at its greatest possible value. So if it asks you steady state consumption at its greatest possible value, so isn't it asking you about golden rule where consumption is maximum? And don't we know that that happens where MPK is equal to depreciation rate? So answer will be C. So such kind of question which are not numerical in nature, they are theoretical in nature, but they can change the wording a bit. जैसे यहाँ पर directly they are not asking you, okay, what is golden rule of capital? What is golden rule of consumption? What is golden rule of saving? They're not saying that. They are going ahead and saying that, you know, that consumption where it is maximum. What is the condition for that? Indirectly, we know what they're asking. Such kind of questions can also be asked in exam. So it is my thorough instruction to you, it is my request to you that you read the solo model thoroughly in this case. You should know everything about the solo model, that what is the equation for steady state, what is golden rule, right? How do you go ahead and talk about the level effect versus the growth effect? No numerical required, but basic understanding of these topics would be required, and you should be aware about that. Okay, now let's talk about this kind of question better. So this is from Lewis model. Try to read this question out. It says, which of the following hold good for Lewis model of development? And I've given you some important aspects here. Unlimited supply of labor. Marginal productivity of labor in the subsistence sector is less than equal to subsistence wage. Dual economy with modern sector and subsistence sector. Agricultural sector subject to increasing return. And critical role or crucial role of surplus by capitalist. अब ये सारे के सारे points, it will seem very simple if you have made a short note on Lewis model covering all important aspects. This is a very easy question to be done. So let me show you how I would have gone ahead and prepared my short note on Lewis model. Take this example, beta. In just 1 to 2 paragraphs, I have tried to go ahead and summarize everything related to Lewis model. See, first point, the Lewis model, it focuses on transition of traditional sector to modern sector. तो लुइस मॉडल ये बताता है कि कैसे हम ट्रेडिशनल से मॉडर्न सेक्टर की तरफ जा रहे हैं. The Lewis model has unlimited supply of labor in the subsistence sector. जो agricultural sector है वहां पे unlimited supply of labor available है. This can be easily absorbed into the modern sector. ये जो agriculture का supply है इसको हम modern sector में absorb करवा सकते हैं. Marginal product of labor in the subsistence sector is less than equal to the wage that they get. जो उनका रिटर्न है, जो लेबर आउटपुट प्रोड्यूस कर रहा है एग्रीकल्चरल सेक्टर में, इट इज नॉट मोर देन द वेज दैट दे आर गेटिंग. सो देयरफॉर इट इज नॉट वेरी प्रॉफिटेबल फॉर द प्रोड्यूसर्स एंड इट इज कैरेक्टराइज्ड बाय डुअल इकोनॉमी. डुअल इकोनॉमी में दो इकोनॉमीज आती हैं, वन इज द मॉडर्न इकोनॉमी, वन इज द ट्रेडिशनल इकोनॉमी. ट्रेडिशनल इकोनॉमी के रिटर्न्स डिमिनिशिंग है, मॉडर्न के इंक्रीजिंग है, and modern economy is generating capital surplus, right? It was developed in 1950 and 1960s, and it simply talks about how you can transform from the subsistence sector to the modern sector. So in just this much, I haven't written a lot, but I think अगर मैं अपना notes इस तरीके से prepare कर लूं, if I write in just 2 paragraphs everything related to Lewis model, I am sorted. For example, I know nothing can be asked beyond this in exam. Now let us go to the options. देखो options को. Unlimited supply of labor. Yes, this is very important property of Lewis model. तो एकदम ठीक है. Marginal productivity of labor is less than the wage. Yes, this is correct. Dual economy, yes, this is a property of Lewis model. Agriculture sector, increasing return. No, agricultural sector has decreasing returns. Crucial role of surplus by capitalist, yes, क्योंकि कैपिटलिस्ट के पास सरप्लस है, इसीलिए तो वो प्रोडक्शन बढ़ाते हैं, इसीलिए तो वो ट्रेडिशनल सेक्टर के लेबर को एब्जॉर्ब कर पाएंगे. सो दिस इज ऑल्सो करेक्ट. So now we know thoroughly what a Lewis model is about. इसके आगे भी कुछ नहीं जानना और पीछे भी कुछ नहीं जानना. That is it. That is it that we want to know. Right? So the correct option should be A, B, C, and E. So that means that my correct answer is this, and I am done. Right? So I want you to go ahead and prepare yourself in this way. एक क्वेश्चन से रिलेटेड whatever possible information I can gather, I should be writing all of that down, because after that I don't have again time to go through the model and again revise every day. We don't have that much time. We only have 10 days in our hand. Okay. Now, look here, beta. Because we already know everything related to the Lewis model, अब ये क्वेश्चन बहुत आसान लगेगा. So dual economies are countries. तो कौन सी कंट्रीज आ रही हैं डुअल इकोनॉमी में? क्या होता है उसमें? वी हैव एग्रीकल्चरल सेक्टर एंड मॉडर्न सेक्टर. सो करेक्ट आंसर शुड बी दोज which have both modern and agricultural sector, right? So this should be B. That's it, right? Okay. Now, another important topic that can be asked in exam is about certain development theories. Next topic of importance can be some important development theories. Let me give you examples of these development theories. So try to understand it. You are applying for masters in economics with focus on development economics. Course का नाम ही है MA Economics with a focus on development economics. So you have to be very thorough with development economics. उसमें जो भी whatever I am mentioning today, those things you have to do very, very thoroughly. They are very important from exam point of view. So when I talk about development economics or development theories, one, you will understand what is vicious cycle of poverty. Important, right? Then you will go ahead and you will try to understand other theories, like for example, what is capability approach given by Amartya Sen. Sen's capability approach. So these two topics, vicious cycle of poverty and Sen's capability approach, they are also important from the point of view of exam, and you will go ahead and you will cover these two topics. Giving you an example, read this question. It says the vicious circle theory suggests that. तो क्या है vicious cycle of poverty? What does it say? It says, look, when income is lower, then people will save less. When people will save less, we know savings and investment are equal. There will be less investment in the economy. When investment will be less, firms will produce less output. When firms will produce less output, they will employ less number of people. When they will employ less number of people, then again, people will have lower income. Also, because income is lower, consumption will be lower. When consumption will be lower, output will be lower. When output will be lower, less people employed, less income. So it's a circle of poverty. Poverty leads to poverty, right? So low per capita income creates low saving that keeps the income again low. And that is the answer to this, right? So such theories, they are important and you should know something about it. Similarly, you should know the next thing that I want to focus on is all kind of index and all kind of parameters, right? First, you should know all ways in which poverty is calculated, right? Not in much detail. I'll tell you the reason why. Dekho, in this paper, we need to understand that we have students from different countries, right? So it is not going to be very India-based paper. मतलब उनको ये मतलब नहीं है कि what your poverty committee suggested. No, they just want to know whether you understand the basic concepts related to poverty, right? Whether you know what is multidimensional poverty index, right? Whether you know what is Gini's coefficient, whether you know what is Lorentz curve, whether you know what is human development index, right? You know what is Kuznets hypothesis or Kuznet curve, right? So you need to know about these parameters, right? But in particular, you don't have to go ahead and read about India in particular, unlike CUT. मतलब इसमें you don't have to go ahead and you don't have to really understand कि अच्छा इंडिया में किसने पॉवर्टी लॉन्च की, व्हाट डिड नारोजी सेड, व्हेन वाज द फर्स्ट पॉवर्टी और नेशनल इनकम कैलकुलेटेड. नो, नथिंग ऑफ इंडियन इकोनॉमी. वो उस एस्पेक्ट से नहीं पढ़ना है हमने. वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड द डेवलपमेंट इकोनॉमी कॉन्सेप्ट, राइट? बेटा देवराज रे इज अ गुड बुक फॉर डेवलपमेंट इको. यू कैन रेफर टू दैट बुक. So these are the concepts which you should be focusing on. Let me again give you some example MCQs. Read out the first one, beta. It says income inequality is often shown by. So we know what shows income inequality. It is the Lorentz curve that shows income inequality. Right? So you know the answer to this, right? Beta Debraj Ray is a good book for development eco. But I would just suggest to, you can just go through these topics in particular rather than, picking up the entire dev eco at this point. Okay. The next thing it says is a value of 1 in Gini's coefficient represents. So you need to understand that when the Gini coefficient value is higher, it represents more inequality. So therefore, answer to this question will be this. Right? So this is my 45-degree line. This is representing full equality. And this is my 100% of the population having 100% of the income. This is my Lorentz curve. And Gini's coefficient will be area of A upon A plus B. So imagine this Lorentz curve tells me how much I deviate from equality line. मैं कितना equality line से दूर हूँ. So imagine if the Lorentz curve keeps going down and it becomes here. So this area will increase. A and B will coincide, isn't it? B will kind of become 0 and this area itself will become full. That will become 1. So you will be maximum away from the line of equality, right? And that is what we will have here. You will have maximum inequality, right? That can be a question in exam. Okay. Then they can go ahead and rare, but they can ask you something about the population theory also. So I just want you to focus on one population theory, which is the Malthusian theory. Again, this is available for students on portal in case you have enrolled for the course. You can go ahead and look into the Malthusian theory and Kuznets hypothesis on the portal. Right? So a question like this can be asked, who wrote the principle of population? And it was given by Malthus. Just read, एक बारी के लिए पढ़ लो कि माल्थुस का population theory है क्या. That can be also an important thing from exam point of view. Okay. Then, beta, as I told you, they can ask you on question on Sain's capability approach. Basic question on Sain's capability approach can also be asked. So for example, here it is simply saying Sain's welfare theory relies on. So we know it talks about the capability approach. That's it. That's the answer to this question. Okay, which section has more weightage? So I would say that all of them, if you look into the sample paper, you will realize that all of them have more or less equal weightage. You will see that there will be 2 to 3 questions based on SAARC nations that can be asked. There will be at least 7 to 8 questions that will be on your macro theory, macroeconomics. There will be 6 to 7 questions which will be on your DevEco, right? There will be 7 to 8 questions which will be on your microeco. There will be 2 to 3 questions which will be on paragraph, right? So there can be questions related to paragraph also. I will be talking about that in a while. So it is not that एक ही subject को focus दिया गया है. So they have gone ahead and they have mentioned these topics, and each of this is going to go ahead and have equal weightage, right? In fact, recently it has been seen that even questions from maths have been asked. I will be talking about which topics, but questions on maths have also been asked. तो आपको उस पे भी focus करना पड़ेगा. The only good part about SAU is that there is no negative marking. So it is my high suggestion that you go ahead and you attempt all questions. Don't skip any question. Give it your 100% because there is no negative marking in the paper. Okay. So coming back to this then. So something like this beta, this is another sample question which can be asked. So this says, an economic development proceeds income inequality to follow. So we know that as a country develops, जैसे जैसे हम development के path पे जाते हैं, initially inequality increases and then inequality decreases, right? So it follows inverted U shape, right? So all these kind of simple question which are based on development theory, ऐसे questions exam में आ सकते हैं, and you have to be very, very well aware of these questions, right? Okay, so I am leaving it up to you. Please read this out. So you need to know what is the difference between physical quality life index versus human development index versus multi-dimensional index. इनके बारे में पढ़ना है और किसमें क्या क्या factors included हैं. Please go ahead and thoroughly read about those also. Okay, this is the second thing. Now let's talk about the third important topic which can be asked in exam. And that topic beta basically is going to be statistics. If you evaluate the sample paper, अगर आप sample paper को एक बारी evaluate करो and you look into the past year questions, you will realize कि slowly type 1, type 2 error has become one of the favorite topics of South Asian University. So you will go ahead and you will see questions on type 1, type 2 error also. It can be a basic question or a little intermediate level question. So for example, I can go ahead and I can ask you this, that consider a person who has a disease A, but the report says otherwise. Okay, or but the hypothesis testing says otherwise. Then which of the error we are committing? A simple question like this, are we committing type 1 error, type 2 error? ऐसा कुछ question आ सकता है. Or it can be a little different. I can give you some statements and I can ask you which of the statement is correct. जिसमें मैं आपको बोल सकती हूँ that the level of significance and type 1 error mean the same thing, right? Or I can ask you that confidence level and type 2 error mean the same thing. ऐसे करके I give you 4 statements and I ask you which is true and which is false. Which of the following statement is correct out of 4? So again, type 1, type 2 error is a more oftenly asked topic and you need to go ahead and you need to prepare on that also. if you want to revise probability, तो जितना CUET में probability पढ़ा है बच्चे, that is more than enough. And you can revise class 12th probability concepts. You don't have to go beyond that. Okay? So you need to go ahead and know concepts like what is mutually exclusive, exhaustive, independent events. Then everyone will do numericals on Bayes theorem and conditional probability. So if I go ahead and I ask you, okay, what is probability A given B, and I give you some numbers here, so you should be able to go ahead and solve such questions also. Okay, so this is something which I want you to focus on. Okay, again, this is going to, so this will have 1 to 2 questions. This will have 2 to 3 questions on probability. Another thing which has recently been asked in exam is central limit theorem, right? So I will just focus on it. Central limit theorem, right? So I will give you a statement. So I will say that the central limit theorem suggests that, and maybe I give you 4 statements यहाँ पे, जिसमें से मैं एक लिख रही हूँ कि as the sample size increases, the distribution becomes normally distributed. Right? I give you 4 statements. So such questions can also be asked in exam based on central limit theorem. You need to revise statistics. It is an important aspect of the exam. Chhodna nahi hai. Stats is important and rather very important. Okay. Now let me give you the important topics from maths. There will be question on limit continuity and differentiation for sure. They have been asked every year. So for example, I am telling you that definitely there will be a question asking L'Hopital application. On L'Hopital application. So just say if I go ahead and I ask you, okay, limit x tends to 0 and say I give you ln x by x. So we know that, something like this I give you, where you are not able to define the function, or I go ahead and I give you limit x tends to 0 sine x by x, right? So whenever I go ahead and whenever I give you questions where L'Hopital is involved, such question will definitely be there in your exam, right? So you need to go ahead and prepare that also. Yes, beta. So only till 2018 it is available. Scroll 3-4 papers of South Asian University and their sample paper, the latest sample paper that they have given. We have also, I've just added the link of SAU here in the chat window. That will give you an idea of the kind of questions that come in South Asian University. That should be enough, right? So just by looking at 3-4 papers, you will realize that what kind of pattern they follow, and you should be focusing on those topics, right? Okay. Now, the second thing that has been asked is eigenvalue and eigenvector and rank. And suppose I give you something like this. I give you a matrix 1, 2, 3, alpha 1, 2, say 0, 0, 3. ऐसा कुछ दे दिया. And I ask you find the value of alpha such that the rank of matrix is 2. I want the rank of the matrix to be 2. मतलब मेरे को 3 नहीं चाहिए. So when will the rank not be 3? If the determinant is equal to 0. So you need to find that value of alpha such that the determinant becomes 0, right? So such questions, basic questions on differentiation, limit, continuity, then questions from matrix, determinant, eigenvalue, eigenvector, and rank can be asked. Another thing, beta, here again, there is a repetition. So the kind of questions that come in exam are repeated questions, nothing very new. So you should be looking into the past year papers very well. Past years are important, right? Okay. Now let's talk about macroeconomics. In macroeconomics, very often they give you a question on augmented Phillips curve, right? Recently, it has been seen that if you look into the, if you ask last year's students ki, okay, what kind of paper came on their memory based questions, I am telling you, so you will notice that there have been also questions which have been on expectations, right? Rational and adaptive expectation. So suppose I give you a question like this. Let me make a question. So say I say that which of the following statement is true for rational expectation? And I give you four statements and I tell you that there is no systematic error, right? There is always a systematic error. And I give you two more statements, right? So we know that whenever we talk about rational expectation, there is no systematic error, right? We know that whenever we will find the expected value of my inflation, it will come out to be the actual inflation. My error on an average will be zero in rational expectation. We have studied that. So questions on the properties of rational and adaptive expectation, it can be asked in the exam and you need to focus on that also. Other than that, this is important. You should know some basic difference between classical and Keynes. Ki, what did Keynes talked about full employment? What was classical dichotomy? Right? You should be knowing those factors well. And what is the AS curve under classical versus Keynes theory? Itna janna is important. Phillips curve I have talked about. The augmented Phillips curve equation is important. So you should know that pi is equal to pi e minus alpha u minus ut. And you should know that when we talk about augmented Phillips curve, then there is a role of expectation. Inflation expectation ka role hota hai. And whenever expected inflation increases, the Phillips curve will shift. So what causes shifts of the Phillips curve? And what causes movement along the Phillips curve? ये वाले concept जानना भी important है. So these are the important topics from macroeconomics. Okay. Now let's talk about microeconomics. So in microeconomics, not a lot has been asked. मतलब unlike the earlier, unlike the other exams, जहाँ पे you see very difficult kind of utility functions, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. The microeconomics part is going to be pretty simple and you can expect simple questions, right? In microeconomics at the level of CUT. It will not be very beyond the CUT level. So for example, I may ask you something like this, right? I may ask you that when price of good X increases, demand of good Y decreases, then the relation between X and Y. And I will give you four options. They're complement, substitute, not related, and X is luxury, something like this I will give you. So such questions can be asked in exam, right? Similarly, I may give you that, so A always prefers rupees 50 over lottery that gives, say, rupees 55. Then A is, then I will give you risk averse, risk lover, risk neutral, none of the above. So ऐसे करके questions like this can be a part of your exam. So you have to go back to your basic and intermediate level video lectures and you have to revise those lectures well. That should be sufficient. Okay. So these are my final comments for all of you for your South Asian University exam. All of you should be doing the past year papers very well, right? You should be going ahead and you should be, in fact, doing the paragraphs also very well, right? So for example, in the South Asian University exam, there is, for some years, there was a paragraph that used to be asked on Amartya Sen theory. ठीक है, अमर्त्य सेन की थ्योरी के ऊपर 2 पैराग्राफ्स दिए जाते थे, एंड देन दे यूज्ड टू से दैट based on the paragraph, answer the following questions. And they will go ahead and they will give you 2 to 3 questions that needs to be answered on the basis of paragraph. Now, what happened in one of the years is that they did not give this paragraph. But since students had done the past year papers, they had actually asked a question based on Amartya Sen theory, which had information out of this paragraph, but this paragraph was not there in the exam. ये अगले साल paragraph नहीं दिया गया, but जो question दिया गया था ना, वो अगर किसी ने past year papers में कभी पढ़ा है paragraph, तो he or she could easily attempt that, right? So you need to go ahead and do past years well. There will be para reading questions also. You need to practice those also. You need to do the latest sample paper very, very well. जो भी आपको साउथ का वेबसाइट पे, यू सी द लेटेस्ट सैम्पल पेपर, यू नीड टू डू दैट वेल. And for students who are enrolled with ArthaPoint, please go ahead and do your basic and intermediate video lectures very, very well, especially on the topics that I have mentioned today. Right? So on those topics that I have mentioned today, I want you to go ahead and do these well. Right? And as I have told, last year also I had conducted a SAU marathon in which I had taken some questions that will be useful for you. Please go ahead and revisit that video lecture. It should be available on YouTube also. I want you to go ahead and revisit that. Right? So that's it from my side for today. I wish you all the very best for South Asian University exam. And I will be doing other marathons too, which would be based on other universities like SMU, like, we will be doing some on IAFT, on MSc, on ISI very, very soon. So, stay tuned and best of luck for your exams. Thank you, Beta.